Good morning. I'm J. Lenore Bressler, and welcome to the June 7, 2017 edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. This is section 3 of a multi-session study on the Psalms. Now, we're going to look at the very first two verses of the first Psalm, Psalm 1, because this psalm praises wisdom and talks about how you can be wise and be right with God. This is known as a wisdom psalm, and really it sets the mood of the whole book that this is wisdom literature. It is to help you know how to instantly implement wisdom into your life. So let us look at the very first couplet, or the first two verses of the first psalm. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. Now, we see that similar to what we would expect in Hebrew literature, there's parallelism here. Actually, there's triplelism here, in that there are three ways of saying basically the same thing. However, there is a distinction, because there is a gradation, or you might say an escalation, an intensification of the identification, or the lack of, in this case, with evil. Now, the first thing is blessed. Blessed does not mean happy. It means joyful, because you're in a right relationship with God. So if you want to be in a good relationship with God and have the kind of peace that passes all understanding, as Jesus talks about, then you need to be in right relationship with God. And here's one of the ways to do it. To be in a right relationship with God, the man, and women, don't get upset, that means everybody that is using the generic man to mean individual. The individual person must not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Now, when you hear wicked, you think, ooh, evil. Now, that's not what this is saying. This is talking about those that do not have God, those that are ungodly. And again, that connotation makes it sound like that they are ostensibly evil, wicked people. But it's not about that. You can have someone in your life who is very nice to you, very kind, all of these things. The problem is that without being a God-fearing person, without recognizing in themselves being in a right relationship with God, when they try, possibly sometimes even meaning well, to offer you counsel, it may not be very good. Oh, they want it to be, and it sounds good, but the problem is they don't have a Christian worldview, and therefore it's going to be difficult for them, even under the best of circumstances, to give you good counsel. Much less, of course, those that don't even have your welfare at the heart of their concern. There is a intensification. First you walk, then you stand, then you sit. So this is talking about how easy it is to be influenced by the company that you keep. As you become more and more familiar with people and you put yourself into their sphere of influence, even if at first you're a little standoffish, you know there's a difference between your worldview and theirs. Ultimately, their worldview is bound to influence you, and pretty soon you start to share it and scoff or make light of and maybe even mock the Lord and the holy things and the way of and by that I mean the worldview. So to have a right relationship, you do not put yourself under the counseling and the advice and of those people that don't have the right worldview. That's the first thing. They're going to mess you up, even if they don't mean to. Number 2, you do not stand in the way of sinners. Now, sinners, again, means someone who has missed the mark. Sin is an archery term. It means to miss the bullseye, to miss the mark. So again, it's not that we're talking about someone who is on the surface obviously evil and wicked in the sense of like Hitler, it was evil or something like that. It's understanding that people who are sinners and they are not even attempting to get out of their sin. They don't even recognize perhaps even such a thing as sin exists. They are walking in a way. Way here means a pathway or a routine that has been going on. It's like like a rut that they're wearing in the ground because they're walking in a certain way. And we are not to walk in that same rut. What is the rut? It is the habit or the way of life that someone who is a unrepentant sinner, who doesn't even recognize or acknowledge sin and the impact of sin on our lives, on our thoughts, etc., would walk in. And finally, we do not sit down. Sitting down in the ancient world was a sign of respect and identification. If you sat with someone, you identified with them in a very intimate, familiar way. We do not sit down, meaning we do not make our home with and become and identify with those who do not recognize the authority of God, who do not appreciate the Lord, because they are scoffers, they are mockers. And that is not where someone who wants to be blessed, meaning in right relationship with God, should be. Now, because this is Hebrew literature, in the first verse, which we've just covered, you expect a second verse to talk about either more and emphasize again what has just been said in the first verse, or present a contrast. And tomorrow we'll talk about the contrast. If these are the things that the blessed man is not supposed to do, then what is he supposed to do? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Remember, you become the company you keep. Be sure you approve of, and that God would approve of, the company you are keeping. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me tomorrow on the next edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. Have a great day.